They arrested him in front of his own home, but what happened next shook the entire city. Before we begin this emotional, true-to-life story, take a moment to click the link below and subscribe to the Untold Struggles, because these are the stories they don't want told. Stories of power, pain, and redemption. Let's begin. The morning sun burned softly through the oaks lining Southwood Avenue. Marcus Reed, a 34-year-old mechanical engineer, husband, and father of two, stood in his driveway, tightening the bolts of his son's bike. His golden retriever barked once at a passing patrol car. Marcus smiled faintly. Easy, Duke. Not everyone's a threat. But seconds later, that same patrol car slowed, reversed, and stopped in front of his house. Two officers stepped out. Officer Dalton, tall and rigid, and Officer Reeves, younger but nervous. They stared at Marcus like they had already decided who he was. "Sir, can we see some ID?" Dalton demanded. Marcus looked up, confused. "Excuse me? I'm in my own yard." "We got a report of a suspicious person matching your description," Reeves added. Marcus chuckled softly. "Suspicious person? I'm tightening a bike chain, man." But when Marcus reached for his wallet, Dalton's hand moved to his holster. "Keep your hands where I can see them." Neighbors peeked through blinds. The tension thickened. Dalton's radio crackled. "All units, stand by." And before Marcus could explain, he was pushed against his car, handcuffed, and slammed hood first into the metal. His son, Elijah, ran out of the house screaming, "Dad, what are you doing to my dad?" Dalton didn't answer. He only muttered, "We'll see if your story checks out." As the patrol car drove off, the street went silent, except for the sound of Duke whining at the gate. By noon, the arrest was all over the neighborhood. A cell phone video, filmed by Marcus's neighbor Rosa Delgado, had gone viral. Caption: "They arrested my neighbor in his own driveway." Thousands of views, hundreds of comments. The clip showed Marcus, calm and respectful, saying, "I live here," right before Dalton shoved him. By evening, news vans lined Southwood Avenue. Reporters crowded the front of Marcus's house as his wife, Danielle Reed, stood firm with her arms folded. "My husband is an engineer, a veteran, and a homeowner," she told Channel 7 News. "And he was profiled because he was black in the wrong neighborhood." Behind her, the neighbors gathered. Rosa, Mr. Chan from across the street, and a dozen others. They were angry, restless, and ready to fight back. That night, Danielle sat alone on the couch, watching the clip replay. Marcus was still being held without charges. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Keep quiet if you want him home." Her hands trembled, but instead of silence, she picked up her phone and went live. "No," she said. "They silenced too many before. Not this time." Within hours, social media exploded. Hashtag Justice for Marcus trended across Atlanta Heights. The next morning, protesters filled the courthouse steps. Teachers, students, veterans, even off-duty officers. Danielle walked to the front, holding a poster, "Innocent." At home, handcuffed. At City Hall, Chief of Police Alan Briggs called a press conference. He looked composed, but nervous. "The department will conduct an internal review," he said. From the crowd, someone shouted, "We've heard that before." And that's when Evelyn Carter, a local civil rights attorney, stepped forward. Her voice echoed across the marble steps. "We don't need a review. We need accountability. Marcus Reed will be free, and those who humiliated him will face justice." If this story already has your heart racing, then stop right now and click the link below to subscribe to the Untold Struggles, because this is just the beginning. The fight's not over. The truth is still coming. In the police precinct basement, Marcus sat handcuffed to a cold metal table. Hours had turned into days. No charges, no lawyer. When the door opened, Evelyn Carter entered, fierce and fearless. "Mr. Reed," she said, sliding a document across the table, "you're coming home. Right now." The sergeant frowned. "He's under investigation." "For what?" Breathing, she shot back. "You've got nothing." When Marcus stepped outside, hundreds of protesters erupted in cheers. His son sprinted toward him. Danielle's tears streaked her cheeks as she wrapped her arms around him. But as Marcus looked over the crowd, he saw Officer Dalton standing at the edge, smiling faintly, whispering something to a reporter. That smile chilled him. Something wasn't over. 2 days later, Evelyn received a file from an anonymous source. Internal emails between Dalton, Reeves, and their captain. They were trying to justify the arrest after the fact. One email read, "We'll say he resisted. If no footage shows it, we're clear." Evelyn's jaw clenched. She called Danielle. "They're fabricating the report. We have to expose them." That night, Danielle uploaded the emails online with the caption, "They lied to save their badges." By morning, it hit national news. The chief of police resigned within hours. But Marcus, still shaken, sat quietly in his living room, whispering to his wife, "What if this only makes things worse?" She squeezed his hand. "Then we'll fight harder." Outside, the street filled again, this time not just with protesters, but people from other cities, other states. Southwood Avenue became a symbol. A week later, at the federal courthouse in downtown Atlanta Heights, a hearing was held. The judge, Honorable Miriam Vance, an older black woman with decades of experience, looked over the courtroom sternly. Dalton's defense attorney said, "Your Honor, our client believed he was responding to a legitimate report." Evelyn rose, holding up Rose's footage. "A legitimate report?" she echoed. "Then explain this." Him smiling while pinning an unarmed man who was only fixing his child's bicycle. The footage played on the courtroom screen. The silence was deafening. Dalton's smirk vanished. When the gavel struck, Judge Vance said, "This court finds probable cause for unlawful arrest, falsified reporting, and abuse of authority." The courtroom exploded in applause. Reporters flooded the steps outside. But just as the Reed family walked out, a black SUV rolled slowly past the courthouse. Inside, two men in suits, unmarked badges on their belts, watched silently. Danielle felt it before she saw it. A chill in her spine. Marcus turned. Their eyes met. The man in the passenger seat rolled down the window, just enough to whisper, "You think it's over?" The SUV drove away. Marcus looked at Evelyn. "What was that?" She exhaled. "That was federal." The camera zooms out. Protesters chanting, thunder rolling overhead, the Reeds standing on the courthouse steps as the screen fades to black. To be continued. This story isn't just fiction, it's reflection. Every day, someone like Marcus is silenced, profiled, or humiliated. But we tell these stories so the world never forgets. So if you believe in justice, truth, and change, like, comment, share, and subscribe to the Untold Struggles. Because silence helps the oppressor, not the oppressed.